Captain Lee Taman stood in the grand hall of the Galactic Council Station. The ceiling stretched high above his head, covered in strange lights that moved like stars. Around him sat creatures from across the galaxy. Some had too many arms, others had no arms at all. A few looked like giant bugs. One species seemed to be made of living rock. All of them were staring at him. Taman wore his best Earth Navy uniform. The blue fabric was clean and pressed. His shoes were polished until they shone. But he felt small in this huge room filled with beings who traveled between stars like humans drove cars. "So," said Counselor Vextar, speaking from a floating platform. The alien looked like a tall, thin person covered in silver scales. His voice was cold. "The humans want to join our community." Murmurs filled the hall. Some aliens made sounds like laughter. Others clicked or buzzed in what Taman guessed was amusement. "Yes, Counselor," Taman said. His voice was steady, but his heart was beating fast. "Earth requests materials and knowledge to build ships that can travel between stars. We want to be part of the galactic community." More laughter. A creature that looked like a purple blob spoke up. "What can humans offer us? You barely understand your own technology. Your species only recently discovered faster than light travel," added another alien. This one had 6 eyes and spoke in a high, singing voice. "You are like children playing with tools you do not understand." Taman felt his face grow hot, but he kept his voice calm. "We learn quickly. Humans are good at solving problems. We can contribute to—" "Contribute?" Vextar interrupted. The scales on his face seemed to shine brighter. "Your species fights wars over water and land. You poison your own planet. You kill each other over pieces of colored cloth you call flags." The hall erupted in more alien sounds of amusement. Taman heard clicks, whistles, and strange musical notes that might have been laughter. "We have moved past such primitive behavior," Vextar continued. "But we are not without mercy. We will help your species take its first small step into the larger universe." Taman felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe they would get the materials Earth needed after all. Vextar made a gesture with one long, thin arm. "Bring in humanity's gift." The great doors of the hall opened with a deep rumbling sound. A massive transport vehicle floated into the room. It was the size of a small building. The vehicle stopped near Taman and its back end opened with a loud crash. Mountains of metal poured out onto the floor. Pieces of hull plating landed with bangs and clangs. Twisted pipes rolled across the smooth surface. Broken engine parts scattered everywhere. The pile grew higher and higher until it reached Taman's chest. The smell of old metal and burned electronics filled the air. "Behold," Vextar announced. "The finest shipbuilding materials we can spare for humanity. This scrap metal comes from the old ships of species that no longer exist. Some pieces are thousands of years old. Consider it a gift from the advanced civilizations to those who are just beginning to crawl from their home world." The laughter was louder now. Taman heard alien voices making comments he could not understand, but the mocking tone was clear, in any language. "This junk is older than your entire civilization," said the purple blob creature. "Perhaps you can make cooking pots from it. Or decorations for your museums," added the 6-eyed alien. Taman stared at the pile of scrap. Some pieces were black with age. Others had strange colors that seemed to shift when he looked at them. He saw metal that looked like crystal, and crystal that looked like metal. There were components with shapes that hurt his eyes to follow, as if they existed in more dimensions than his brain could understand. It was junk, garbage, trash that these advanced species threw away. "Do you accept this generous gift?" Vextar asked. His tone made it clear that this was not really a question. "Or is it too advanced for human understanding?" Taman looked up at the floating platform. He looked around the hall at all the alien faces watching him. Some seemed curious, most looked amused. A few appeared bored, as if this whole meeting was beneath their attention. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people looking up at the stars and dreaming of the day humans would walk among them, about the scientists and engineers who had worked for decades to make this moment possible. about how humanity always found a way to survive and grow stronger, no matter what challenges they faced. Taman walked to the pile of scrap metal. He picked up a piece that looked like it might have been part of an engine. It was heavier than he expected and warm to the touch even though it had been sitting in the cold hall. "We accept," he said clearly. "And we thank the Galactic Council for this generous gift." The laughter grew even louder. "Excellent," Vextar said. "We look forward to seeing what humanity creates from our generous donation. Perhaps in a few hundred years you will have learned enough to build a ship that can carry you to the nearest star system." "Perhaps," Taman agreed. But inside his mind, he was already planning, already thinking, already seeing possibilities, where others saw only garbage. As the transport vehicle began loading the scrap metal back up to take it to the human embassy, Taman caught the eye of Dr. Park Nara. She was part of his small team, a brilliant engineer who had come with him to this meeting. She was staring at the pile with the same look she got when she was solving a difficult problem. She caught his glance and nodded slightly. She saw it too. The meeting ended with more alien speeches about humanity's primitive nature and how they should be grateful for any help from their betters. Taman listened politely and thanked them at all the right moments, but his mind was elsewhere. As they left the Great Hall, Dr. Park Nara walked beside him. "Captain," she said quietly, "some of those pieces, I've never seen metal like that before. And those crystal components, they're still generating power after all these years." "I noticed," Taman said. "They have no idea what they just gave us, do they?" Taman smiled for the first time since entering the council hall. "No, they don't. They see junk because they think like the civilizations that built this stuff. But we're human. We think differently. What do we do now?" Taman stopped walking and turned to face her. His eyes were bright with determination. "We go home, we gather our best people, and we show the galaxy what happens when you give humans a challenge and the tools to meet it. Even if the tools are broken?" "Especially if the tools are broken," Taman said. "Humans have been fixing broken things and making them better for our entire history. That's what we do." As they walked toward their small Earth ship, Taman was already making mental lists. Engineers, he would call. Scientists who would want to help. Military officers who understood that sometimes the best weapon was the one your enemy didn't expect. Behind them, the great doors of the council hall closed. With a final echoing boom, the insult had been delivered. Now it was time for the response. Dr. Park Nara stood in the middle of the largest warehouse on Earth's Luna base. Around her, mountains of alien scrap metal reached toward the ceiling. The pile was even bigger than it had looked in the council hall. Transport ships had been arriving for 3 days, dumping load after load of what the galaxy's most advanced species called junk. "It smells like 1,000 different worlds," said Commander Kim Woo-jin, covering his nose with his sleeve. He was a tall man with serious eyes who rarely smiled. "And most of them smell bad." "That's because it comes from 1,000 different worlds," Nara replied. She was holding a small device that beeped and flashed as she pointed it at different pieces of metal. "Each species builds things differently, uses different materials, different power sources." Chief Engineer Choi Min-soo climbed down from a tall piece that looked like part of a ship's wing. His hands were dirty and his face was excited. "Dr. Park, you need to see this. Some of these components are still working. After hundreds of years, they're still generating power." Nara walked over to where Min-soo was pointing. A crystal the size of her fist was glowing with soft blue light. It was stuck to a piece of metal that had turned black with age. "Fascinating," she said, holding her scanner close to it. The device went crazy, beeping so fast it sounded like a fire alarm. "This crystal is producing more energy than our best nuclear reactors, and it's been doing it for who knows how long." "How is that possible?" asked Yang Jisoo, the newest member of their team. She was young and smart with quick hands that could fix any machine. "Our scientists say you can't create energy from nothing." "You can't," Nara agreed. "But maybe this isn't creating energy. Maybe it's taking energy from somewhere else, a different dimension. Or maybe it's converting something we don't understand yet." Captain Lee Taman entered the warehouse with two more people. One was a woman with pilot's wings on her uniform. The other was a man carrying a large bag full of tools. "Team!" Taman called out. "Meet our new members. This is Pilot Kang Hyeri, the best flyer in Earth's Space Force. And this is Weapons Specialist Shin Jae-hyun, who knows more about making things explode than anyone else I know." Hyeri looked around the warehouse with wide eyes. "Sir, this place looks like a graveyard for spaceships." "That's exactly what it is," Taman said. "And we're going to bring something back to life." Jae-hyun was already walking toward the pile, pulling tools from his bag. "Captain, some of these weapon parts, I've never seen designs like this. Look at this." He held up a curved piece of metal with strange holes in it. "This isn't built to fire projectiles, it's built to fire energy. But the focusing system is completely different from our lasers." "Different how?" Nara asked. "Our energy weapons shoot in straight lines," Jae-hyun explained. "This one, I think it can bend the energy beam, make it curve around obstacles, maybe even make it split into multiple beams." Min-soo wiped his hands on a dirty cloth. "We've found engine parts that don't use fuel, armor plating that gets stronger when you hit it, navigation systems that seem to predict where you want to go before you decide. And that's just in the first day of looking," Woo-jin added. "We haven't even examined half of this stuff yet." Taman nodded slowly. "The Galactic Council thinks they gave us garbage. But what they really gave us was a library of technologies, from civilizations that don't exist anymore." "Why don't they exist anymore?" Hyeri asked. "Good question," Nara said. She picked up a tablet and showed it to the group. "I've been researching the species that built some of these components. Most of them disappeared thousands of years ago. Wars, natural disasters, diseases. Some just vanished. But their technology survived," Jisoo pointed out. "Exactly," Taman said. "And now it's ours to learn from." Jae-hyun held up another piece, this one shaped like a spiral. "The problem is, none of this stuff was meant to work together. Each species had completely different approaches to building things. It's like trying to make a car engine work with airplane wings and boat propellers." "That's what makes us human," Taman said with a smile. "Other species follow rules. They build things the right way. We make things work however we can." Nara was scanning another piece of equipment. This one looked like a metal flower with petals that moved by themselves. "Captain, I think I understand what we need to do. We can't just copy these technologies. We need to combine them. Make them work together in ways their original builders never imagined." "Can we do that?" Woo-jin asked. "We'll have to," Taman replied. "Because we're not building a ship like theirs. We're building a ship like ours." Over the next several weeks, the team worked 12 hours a day. They took apart every piece of scrap metal, photographed it, scanned it, and tested it. Slowly, they began to understand what they had been given. "Look at this," Nara said during one of their evening meetings. She was projecting images onto a large screen. "This armor plating comes from a species that lived on a world with constant storms. It absorbs energy and spreads it out harmlessly. This engine," Min-soo added, pointing to another image, "comes from a species that lived in space. They never landed on planets, so their engines are designed to work in zero gravity and vacuum. And this weapon system," Jae-hyun said, "comes from a species that fought enemies they couldn't see. It's designed to track and hit targets that are invisible or in other dimensions." Hyeri studied the images. "What if we put them all together? Stormproof armor, space-optimized engines, and weapons that can hit anything?" "That's exactly what we're going to do," Taman said. "But first, we need to solve the biggest problem." "What's that?" Jisoo asked. "Power," Nara explained. "Each of these systems needs a different type of energy to work. Some need electricity, others need heat. Some seem to run on emotions or thoughts, and a few need types of energy we don't even have names for." "So how do we make it work?" Woo-jin asked. Nara smiled for the first time in weeks. "We cheat. We find a way to convert one type of energy into another. We build adapters. We make bridges between technologies that were never meant to meet." Is that possible? Minsu asked. Ask me in 6 months, Nara replied. Taman stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth hung in the black sky like a blue and white marble. 6 months, he said. That's how long we have before the Galactic Council expects us to report on our progress. What are we going to tell them? Hieri asked. Taman turned back to his team. We're going to show them something they've never seen before. We're going to show them what happens when humans get creative. The team worked late into the night every night. They built testing equipment from spare parts. They drew diagrams on every available wall. They filled notebooks with calculations and ideas. And slowly, very slowly, they began to see how all the pieces could fit together. Not the way any single alien species would have done it, but the way humans would do it, the way that just might work. 3 months into the project, Dr. Im Seoyun arrived at Luna Base with dark circles under her eyes and a notebook full of impossible equations. She had been working without sleep for 48 hours straight. I think I solved it, she announced, stumbling into the main laboratory where the team was gathered around a table covered in alien components. Captain Lee Taman looked up from a crystal power core that was humming softly. Solved what? The power problem, Seoyun said, dropping into a chair. How to make all these different energy systems work together. Chief Engineer Choi Minsu stopped what he was doing. We've been trying to figure that out for months. What did you find? Seoyun opened her notebook and showed them pages covered in mathematical symbols. Each alien technology uses energy differently, right? Some need steady power, some need bursts. Some need specific frequencies. It's like trying to feed different animals with the same food. Right, Dr. Park Nara agreed. That's why we can't just connect them directly. But what if we don't connect them directly? Seoyun asked. What if we build a translator between them? Systems analyst Bae Gyeonwoo looked confused. A translator for energy? Exactly, Seoyun said, getting excited. Look at this crystal from the Veltar species. She pointed to a green stone that pulsed with light. It stores emotional energy, literally feeds on feelings like anger or excitement. That's weird, said pilot Kang Hieri. Weird but useful, Seoyun continued. And this engine component from the Zithran civilization runs on quantum fluctuations. 2 completely different energy types, but watch this. She connected the crystal to a small device she had built. The device was covered in wires and looked like it had been put together from spare parts. Because it had been. Jianwu, think about something that makes you angry, she said. That's easy, he replied. Traffic jams on Earth. The crystal began, glowing brighter. Seoyun's device started beeping and numbers appeared on a small screen. Now watch, she said, connecting another wire. Suddenly, the Zithron engine component began spinning slowly. The room went quiet. You just converted emotional energy into quantum energy, Nara whispered. And this is just the beginning, Seoyun said. If we can translate between any 2 energy types, we can make anything work with anything else. Over the next month, the team built more translators. They discovered that human emotions were particularly good at powering alien technology. Fear made stealth systems work better. Determination strengthened armor plating. Hope somehow made navigation systems more accurate. It's like the universe wants humans to use this stuff, said weapons specialist Shin Jae-hyun as he tested an energy weapon that fired pure concentrated anger. Medical officer Yoon Soo-hyun arrived during the 4th month with a problem no one had thought about. How are we going to crew this ship? She asked during one of their daily meetings. What do you mean? Commander Kim Woo-jin asked. I mean, how is a human body going to survive using alien technology? Soo-hyun explained. Some of these systems create radiation we've never seen before. Others generate fields that could scramble our brain patterns, and a few of them seem to exist partially in other dimensions. The room fell silent as everyone realized she was right. Can we build protection? Taman asked. We can try, Soo-hyun said, but better would be to adapt humans to work with the technology directly. Like how? Hieri asked nervously. Genetic modification is too dangerous and takes too long, Soo-hyun said. But I've been studying these biocompatibility systems from the Mordun species. She held up a device that looked like a metallic spider. They were a species that could change their biology temporarily to use different technologies. Temporarily? Geonwoo asked. The changes only last as long as you're connected to the system, Soo-hyun explained. Your body adapts to use the alien technology, then changes back when you disconnect. Is it safe? Min-soo asked. Safer than being vaporized by incompatible alien systems, Soo-hyun replied. And I've run computer simulations. Human biology is more adaptable than most species. We should be able to handle the temporary changes better than the original users. As the 5th month began, the ship started to take shape. It didn't look like any vessel in the galactic fleet. Where other ships were built for specific purposes, the human ship was built to adapt. The hull used armor plating from 12 different species. Some sections were nearly invisible. Others could become as hard as diamond when struck. A few pieces could actually repair themselves by eating space dust. Engineer Yang Jisoo had designed the internal systems to be modular. We can change the ship's configuration depending on what we need, she explained to the team. Fighting configuration, exploration configuration, stealth configuration. It's like having several different ships in one. The engines were Min-soo's masterpiece. He had combined propulsion systems from 6 different civilizations. Most ships can either go fast or maneuver well, he said proudly. Ours can do both, and it can also phase partially out of normal space to avoid obstacles. Navigation Officer Lim Do-hyun had been working with the strangest technology of all, a navigation system that seemed to predict the future. I still don't understand how it works, he admitted. But it shows us dangers before we encounter them and opportunities before they appear. Does it actually see the future? Communications expert Young Minji asked. I think it calculates probability, Do-hyun replied. But the calculations are so complex that it might as well be seeing the future. As the 6th month arrived, the ship was nearly complete. Captain Taemin stood in what would be the bridge looking at control panels that no human had ever seen before. Status report, he said. Engines are ready, Min-soo reported. We've tested them at low power. They work perfectly. Weapons, systems are installed and calibrated, Jae-hyun said. We have more firepower than most galactic cruisers and it's all hidden until we need it. Life support is functioning, Soo-hyun added. The biocompatibility systems are ready for human testing. Navigation is online, Do-hyun said. The ship knows where it is, where it's been, and where it probably needs to go. Communications are working on 17 different frequencies, Minji reported. We can talk to any known species in the galaxy. Taemin nodded. And what do we call her? The team looked at each other. They had been so busy building the ship that no one had thought about a name. She rose from the ashes of dead civilizations. Nara said slowly. She's something new built from something old, Woo Jin added. She's proof that humans don't give up, Hyeri said. Taemin smiled. Then we call her the Indomitable, because that's what we are. Security Chief Han Seung-ho, who had been quiet during most of the construction, spoke up for the first time in weeks. Captain, when do we test her? Taemin looked around the bridge at his team. These people had worked for 6 months to turn scrap metal into something impossible. They had solved problems that the galaxy's greatest minds had given up on. They had built something completely new. Tomorrow, he said. Tomorrow we find out if we've built the galaxy's deadliest warship or the galaxy's most expensive pile of junk. Outside the ship, Earth hung in space like a blue marble. Soon, they would take their creation out among the stars and show the galaxy what humans could do when they put their minds to it. The Indomitable was ready for her first flight. The Indomitable hummed with power as Captain Lee Taemin settled into the command chair. Around him, his crew worked at stations that looked like they belonged in a museum of alien technology. Lights blinked in colors that had no names in human language. All systems show green, reported Chief Engineer Choi Min-soo from his station. His hands moved over controls that responded to his thoughts as much as his touch. Biocompatibility systems are online, said Medical Officer Yoon Soo-hyun. All crew members are adapting well to the alien technology interfaces. Taemin felt strange. The ship's systems were connected to his mind through the biocompatibility device behind his ear. He could sense the ship's condition like it was part of his own body. When the engines were ready, he felt it in his bones. When the weapons were charged, his muscles tensed. "This is going to take some getting used to," he said. "Navigation is ready, Captain," reported Lim Do-yun. "The system is showing me 3 possible flight paths. One for speed, one for safety, and one for... I'm not sure what this third one is for." "What does it look like?" asked communications expert Young Minji. "It goes through an asteroid field, around a solar flare and past a gravity well that shouldn't exist," Do-hyun replied. "But the computer says it's the most interesting route." "The ship wants to show off," laughed pilot Kang Hyeri from the helm. "I can feel it through the controls. It's like riding a horse that's been locked in a stable for too long." "Then let's give it what it wants," Taman said. "Take us out slow and easy." The Indomitable lifted off from Luna Base without a sound. No roar of engines, no blast of fire. It simply began moving, as if space itself was pushing it forward. "How are we moving?" asked systems analyst Bae Gyeonwoo. "The engines are running," Minsu replied. "But they're not pushing against anything. They're changing our relationship with space-time itself." "That's impossible," Gyeonwoo said. "Tell that to the ship." Minsu grinned. They had been flying for only 10 minutes when alarms began sounding throughout the galactic monitoring network. Every species with advanced sensors detected the Indomitable and immediately began asking questions. "Captain," Minji reported, "we're receiving communications from 17 different species. They all want to know what we are and where we came from." "And what are you telling them?" "That we're a human ship on a test flight," she replied. "They don't believe me." On the main screen, a familiar face appeared. Counselor Vextar looked even more arrogant than usual. His silver scales were practically glowing with anger. "Human vessel," he said in his cold voice. "You will return to your base immediately. Your ship is violating several galactic regulations." "Which regulations?" Taman asked politely. "Your ship's energy signature is impossible," Vextar replied. "Our sensors detect technologies from at least 20 different extinct civilizations. Such combinations are forbidden." "Forbidden by whom?" "By the laws of physics," Vextar snapped. "What you have built cannot work. It should not exist." "And yet here we are," Taman said calmly. Before Vextar could reply, Security Chief Han Sung-ho spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting ships moving toward us. 3 galactic patrol vessels." "They want to inspect us," Taman realized. "Let them come," said weapons specialist Shin Jae-hyun. "I'd like to see how our systems perform under examination." The 3 patrol ships were large and impressive. Each one was twice the size of the Indomitable and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. They approached in perfect formation, their movements precise and predictable. "Human ship," came a new voice over the communication system. "This is Patrol Commander Zixtal. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." "I don't think so," Taman replied. "You do not have a choice in this matter," Zixtal said. "Stand down immediately." "Hyeri," Taman said quietly, "show them what our ship can do." The pilot grinned and placed her hands on the flight controls. The Indomitable suddenly moved in ways that made the patrol ship's computers crash trying to track it. First, it seemed to split into 3 copies of itself. The patrol ships immediately opened fire on all 3 images, only to discover they were shooting at empty space. Then the real Indomitable appeared directly between the 3 patrol ships, close enough that they could have reached out and touched it. "How did you do that?" demanded Commander Zixtal. "Trade secret," Taman replied. The Indomitable began moving again, this time in patterns that defied everything the galaxy knew about spaceflight. It moved in perfect circles around each patrol ship. It flew backward while facing forward. It seemed to exist in 2 places at once. "This is impossible," whispered one of the patrol ship captains over an open channel. "Our targeting computers cannot lock onto them," reported another. "Captain," Sung-ho called out, "more ships are approaching, a lot more ships." On the screen, Taman could see vessels from dozens of different species converging on their location. Some were military ships, others were science vessels. A few looked like they belonged to private collectors who wanted to add the Indomitable to their museums. "Popular ship," commented Wu Jin dryly. "Captain," Do-hyun said urgently, "the navigation system is showing me something. There's a distress signal coming from the Kepler 442 system. A colony is under attack." "How far?" Taemin asked. 3 days at maximum speed for any galactic ship," Do-hyun replied. "But the system says we can be there in 6 hours." 6 hours? Minsu looked up from his engineering station. "That's impossible. That's halfway across the sector." "The ship wants to go," Hyeri said. She was still connected to the flight systems, and her eyes were bright with excitement. "I can feel it. It knows it can make the trip." Taemin looked around at his crew. They had built something unprecedented. They had proven it could fly. Now they had a chance to prove it could fight. "Minji, open a channel to all ships in the area," he ordered. "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Lee Taemin of the Earth, ship Indomitable," he announced. "We are responding to a distress call from the Kepler 442 system. Any ships that wish to observe our capabilities are welcome to follow, but you'll have to keep up." "Captain," came Vextar's voice, sounding strained, "that system is under attack by raiders from beyond known space. The galactic fleet is already responding, but they will not arrive for 3 days. Then we'll have to handle it ourselves," Taemin replied. "Impossible. You are one ship against an unknown number of enemies." "We're one human ship," Taemin corrected. "That makes all the difference." He closed the channel and turned to his crew. "All stations, prepare for combat jump. Let's go save some people." "Jump coordinates locked in," Do-hyun reported. "Engines ready," Minsu called out. "Weapons powered. And standing by," Jae-hyun announced. "All systems optimal," Soo-hyun confirmed. Taemin felt the ship's eagerness through his biocompatibility connection. The Indomitable had been built from the remains of warriors. Now it was time to see if it had inherited their fighting spirit. "Execute jump," he ordered. Space twisted around them and the Indomitable disappeared from the sensor screens of 63 different galactic vessels. When the space distortion cleared, they were gone. Behind them, the assembled fleet could only stare at empty space and wonder what they had just witnessed. "Follow them," Vextar ordered quietly. "Sir, we don't know where they went," his navigation officer replied. "Then find out," Vextar said. "I have a feeling we're about to witness something that will change the galaxy forever." The race to Kepler 442 had begun, but the Indomitable was already there, preparing to face an enemy that had terrified the galactic fleet. Soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when humans went to war with impossible weapons and unbreakable determination. The Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What Captain Lee Taemin saw on the main screen made his blood run cold. 12 massive black ships surrounded the colony world. Each one was the size of a city, covered in spikes and weapons that glowed with red energy. They were firing continuously at the planet's surface, turning cities into craters of molten glass. "Dear God," whispered Medical Officer Yoon Soo-hyun. "Those aren't galactic ships," said Security Chief Han Sung-ho. "I've never seen designs like that." "They're from beyond the rim," Navigation Officer Lim Do-hyun reported, his voice shaking. "The navigation system says they come from dark space, where no stars shine." "How many people are on that planet?" Commander Kim Woo-jin asked. Communications expert Young Minji checked her instruments. 15 million colonists, Captain, mostly families. The distress signal says they have no military defenses. Taemin felt anger building in his chest. Through the biocompatibility system, the ship felt it too. Weapon systems began charging without his order. "Captain," said weapons specialist Shin Jae-hyun, "these raiders, they're not trying to capture the planet. They're trying to destroy it completely." "Why would they do that?" asked pilot Kang Hyeri. "Because they can," Taemin said grimly. "Because no one has ever stopped them before." "Sir," Chief Engineer Choi, Minsu called out, "one of those ships is 3 times our size, all 12 together. We're outnumbered and outgunned by a factor of 50 to 1. Good, Taman said. Fair fights are for people who aren't angry enough. The nearest raider ship detected the Indomitable and turned toward them. It was a nightmare made of metal and hate, covered in weapons that looked like they had been designed by creatures that enjoyed causing pain. Unknown ship, came a voice over the communication system. The voice sounded like grinding metal and broken glass. You will leave this system immediately or be destroyed. This is Captain Lee Taman of the Earthship Indomitable, Taman replied. You will stop your attack on the colony and surrender, or we will stop you. Laughter filled the communications channel. It was not a pleasant sound. One small ship against you, our fleet, the raider captain said. You must be insane. No, Taman said calmly. We're human. There's a difference. The raider ship opened fire with everything it had. Energy beams, plasma missiles, and weapons that seemed to tear holes in space itself all converged on the Indomitable. None of them hit. Yeri, evasive maneuvers, Taman ordered. Already on it, Captain, the pilot replied. The ship moved like a living thing, flowing around the incoming fire like water around rocks. How are they missing us? Systems analyst Bai Geonwoo asked. They're not missing, Tactical Coordinator Ryu Ji-hoon explained from his station. Their targeting computers are predicting where we should be, but we're not following normal flight patterns. The ship is learning from their attacks, Engineer Yang Ji-soo added. Every shot they fire teaches it how to avoid the next one. Jaehyun, return fire, Taman ordered. Which weapon system, Captain? All of them. The Indomitable had been built from the wreckage of 20 different civilizations. Now it unleashed weapons that those civilizations had never imagined working. Together. Energy beams that could bend around obstacles struck the raider ship from impossible angles. Missiles that existed in multiple dimensions hit targets that thought they were safely hidden. Weapons that fed on the enemy's own aggression grew stronger with every shot fired at them. The massive raider ship, which had destroyed hundreds of worlds, simply came apart. Its hull melted, its engines exploded, and its weapon systems turned against each other. The remaining 11 ships stopped firing at the planet and turned toward the Indomitable. Now you have their attention, Woo Jin observed. Good, Taman said. Ji-hoon, what's our tactical situation? 11 enemies, each one larger and more heavily armed than us, Ji-hoon replied. They're moving to surround us. Standard galactic fleet tactics, Taman noted. Predictable. How is that good? Minsu asked. Because we're not a standard galactic ship, Taman explained. Yeri, take us into the middle of their formation. Sir? You heard me. Fly us right into the center of their fleet. The Indomitable accelerated toward the raider ships. The enemy captains couldn't believe what they were seeing. No sane commander would fly directly into a trap, but Captain Taman wasn't following the rules of sane commanders. They're surrounding us, Shung-ho reported. Perfect, Taman said. Now they can't fire without hitting each other. Jaehyun, target their engine systems. Let's see how they fight when they can't move. The Indomitable spun in place, firing in all directions at once. Its weapons had been designed by species that fought very different kinds of wars. Some fired energy that could pass through solid matter. Others shot projectiles that could exist in several dimensions simultaneously. Chief Gunner Moon So-young had joined the crew just before the battle. Now she proved why she was the best gunner in Earth's Space Force. Her hands moved over controls that responded to her instincts, firing weapons in combinations that confused both enemies and physics. Target's engines are down, she reported, and that one too. And how many guns does this ship have? We're still finding out, Jaehyun replied. 3 more raider ships lost their engines and began drifting helplessly. The remaining 8 tried to pull back, but the Indomitable was faster. They're trying to run, Yeri reported. Don't let them, Taman ordered. The ship seemed to understand. Without anyone touching the controls, it began moving in ways that blocked the raiders' escape routes. Captain, Do-hyun said in amazement. The ship is flying itself. The navigation system is predicting what they'll do before they do it. Can it predict what we'll do? Geonwoo asked. It doesn't need to, damage control specialist Quan Minho said from his station. It's connected to our thoughts. It knows what we want before we want it. The battle became a dance. The Indomitable flowed around enemy fire while its own weapons struck with impossible precision. Every time the raiders tried a new tactic, the human ship adapted. When they tried to overwhelm it with numbers, it became harder to target. When they used heavier weapons, it absorbed the energy and used it to power its own systems. When they attempted to ram it, it simply wasn't there anymore. "This is impossible," one of the raider captains transmitted. "What are you?" "We're the species that built this ship from your victims' scraps," Taman replied. "We're the species that turns your advantages into our weapons. We're the species that doesn't know when to quit." One by one, the raider ships fell silent. Some exploded, others simply stopped working as their systems were turned against them. A few began broadcasting surrender signals. "Battle over," So Young reported. All enemy ships neutralized. The bridge fell quiet except for the soft humming of alien technology. "Damage report," Taman asked. "No damage, Captain," Minho replied. "A few scratches on the hull. The ship actually seems to be in better condition than when we started." "It was enjoying itself," Soo-hyun said softly. "Through the biocompatibility system, I could feel it." The ship was happy to be fighting. "Mission status?" Taman asked. "Colony is safe," Minji reported. "They're asking if we need assistance. 15 million people want to thank us personally." "Tell them we're just doing our job," Taman said. "Captain," Do-hyun said urgently. "Ships are approaching. A lot of ships." On the main screen, the galactic fleet appeared. 63 vessels from dozens of different species, led by Counselor Vextar's command ship. "How did they get here so fast?" Woojin asked. "They followed our jump trail," Ji-hoon explained, "though it should have taken them much longer." Vextar's face appeared on the communication screen. For the first time since Taman had met him, the alien counselor looked uncertain. "Captain Taman," Vextar said slowly, "our sensors show that 12 raider ships have been destroyed or disabled. Is this accurate?" "Yes, Counselor." "In 17 minutes?" "The battle lasted 17 minutes?" Vextar looked at something off-screen, then back at Taman. "Our tacticians estimate that this raider fleet could have held off our entire combined force for several hours." "Maybe," Taman said. "But you're not human." There was a long pause. "Captain," Vextar said finally, "the Galactic Council would like to discuss joining our naval forces." "With respect, Counselor, we're not interested in joining anyone's navy." "Then what do you want?" Taman smiled. "We want our next batch of scrap metal. We're just getting started." Behind him, his crew began laughing. They had taken the galaxy's garbage and built a legend, and this was only the beginning.